Don't you just hate it when you're playing against Boa and they slam down the 9 cost, forcing you to take a life while they heal one, and they just seemingly get away with it for no reason? Don't you just hate it when Blue Purple Luffy plays down the biggest dudes, plays down Roger, becomes an 8k for the turn, plays down Sanji and has a Mihawk and bottom decks your stuff? Pfft, man, that must suck. If you're not playing the best deck in the format. Hi there, my name is the King of Dop Decks. I'm here to introduce you to one of my favorite decks. A little bit of an update video. If you haven't seen it already, I've already got a video on the channel, so please go ahead and check it out if you want a full breakdown. This is just the updated version of it for EB03. That's right, we're talking about everyone's favorite Revolutionary Army leader, the favorite leader in all rogues that you can actually play in the Heroines Cup too. Black Yellow Koala. Black Yellow Koala's got a very fun effect. If you're not very familiar with how the deck works, I highly recommend that you go and check out my deck list on the video. I went through everything in very deep detail. This is just going to be a very quick deck profile, kind of breaking down the new additions to the deck, the changes, and how I feel Koala is going to do going into the EB03 format and also in the Heroines Cup. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get on into our deck profile here. So starting off, we've got the same stuff as before. We're going to be playing 4 copies of our Searcher Koala. Koala's a very good generic searcher. We're always going to be wanting to play her. Nothing changes with that. This is where we get to our first change of the deck. So with EB03, Koala got a brand new piece of support, which also works for Sabo, but no one gives a fuck about Sabo. We're here for Koala. We're here to do some Koala gaming. And that's why we are playing 4 copies of the brand new Koala. What this card does is it says, if your leader has a Revolutionary Army type, this character gets +4 cost, effectively making an 8 cost, thus turning on our draw engine when we get to the next turn. It is a 4 cost 5k with 1k power, and it says on opponent's turn, on KO, you can play up to one Revolutionary Army type character with a cost of 6 or less, other than Koala, or, very importantly, or up to one Nico Robin with a cost of 6 or less from your hand or trash. This card is quite good, but it does have one severe flaw, and I think many of you who are very well versed in the game probably are familiar with what that flaw is. It requires it to be KO'd for it to have that effect. It's a little bit difficult for that to happen because there's not a lot of KO effects running around the format right now. Not a lot of people are playing removal in that sense. Most people are playing stuff like Red Rock or Gravity Blade, trying to bottom deck stuff. Of course, our deck naturally gets around lots of those types of removals, but this is something that is a little bit tricky to really pull off. So realistically, it's another good card that you can just slam down on turn 2. It's a 5k swing. You can swing with 5k every single turn, and realistically, you can assume that your opponent is not going to touch this unless they really don't know what they're doing. You just have a very consistent 5k swing that's just going to swing at your opponent every single time. And the alternative to this would be the next card that we're going to talk about, which is our 3 copies of Hack. I actually bumped this down. It originally was at 4 copies. I bumped it down to 3 in order to make space for the Koalas. You don't really lose too much by losing out that 1 extra copy. The consistency still feels the same, and it's effectively filling the same role as Koala. You want this to be your turn 2 play that you want to slam down on your second curve. Having this out helps out, and it's a good blocker. The on KO effect can sometimes be relevant, but we're starting to see a little bit more that there's a lot more. Bandai is starting to print out more cards that are, for some reason, just immune to removal. So this at least kind of helps us out a little bit, but I do like it at 3 right now, especially with some of the new decks running around the format. Like Kobe has recently been getting some support. That's a deck I've actually been kind of messing around with recently, and stuff like that just is completely negated by the leader's effect. So running it at 3 I think is a safe call. And speaking of 4 costs that we're running 3 of, we've got 3 copies of Heroine. I don't think I really need to explain why Heroine is so good. Being able to heal 1 while also blocking is incredible. I've noticed that a lot of people, and especially after talking to a couple of people, a lot of people are really sleeping on this card. And I think a lot of people are claiming that it's quite bad. And honestly, I can understand why a lot of people think that. People think that it's just going to get rested by Mihawk, it's just going to get bounced by Nami. This is definitely not a very good card in those matchups. But in the aggro matchups where we actually want this is where it really gets to shine. Aggro matchups are truly where we tend to struggle the most because we just can't get the same kind of tempo and value that they get. Slamming this down for 4 cost doesn't exactly turn on your leader ability, but it effectively stops 2 attacks by blocking 1, getting a life, and then they still have to swing at you while you take that life, potentially giving you even a game-winning trigger. And we'll get into some of those as we continue through the deck profile. So I'm running the Heroine as a 3 of. Next card that we're going to talk about here is our 5 cost Karasu. Karasu is by far the most insane card. This card alone won me so many games over the last week that I've been testing at locals. This card has just been carrying the whole fucking deck on its back. Oh my lord. I was playing against an ace player who had maybe about like 8-7 cards pretty consistently, and I was making him pitch one every single time. He left this alive for way too long. I committed resources to keeping it alive, and holy fuck, this thing did work. It's insane. The value it gets you is really good. For those who don't know, when this card attacks your opponent, they have to discard a card before they commit counter, and then they have to decide if they're going to counter out of it. So you are at most, or at least, getting rid of 2 cards from their hand, which is going to be a 6k swing. You're going to at least be swinging, discarding a card, and getting a 2k counter out of their hand. At worst, you're swinging at them, they're discarding a card, and then taking a life. But even then, that still plays into our hands, because when you get to pull off the fantastic combo that is turn 3 Karasu going first, turn 3 Karasu into your turn 4 Nico Robin, chef's kiss, man. This combo alone has gotten me some incredible wins. This actually helped me go undefeated when I was playing at my locals recently. I did go up against a Mihawk at the very end, and he let this Karasu stay up for far too long. And the combo between the Karasu and the Nico Robin, trimming down his hand size, keeping it down tight, really prevented him from having enough counter, because towards the end of the game when we were getting towards that late game and I was trying to go for the kill, he had only just enough counter in hand to not be able to clear, to just match my attack but not clear it. And it was all thanks to that Karasu chucking a card out of his hand every single turn. And I was staring down a massive board. He had the Law and Beppo, he had the 8 cost secret. It was a very close game, and that Karasu hard carried me. Fantastic card. Nico Robin, just as good, getting that blocker out, 7k swinger, also being able to trim 2 more cards from their hand while also filtering out any other bricks that you might want to play out for later. Very good card. Up next, we got 4 copies of Kuma. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. This ratio has not changed at all. It's going to heal you. It's incredible. You can play it out later with Dragon. It's also 1k counter. There's not much more that needs to be said about why Kuma is so good. And then in terms of the tech pieces, I am still running 3 copies of the Rayleigh. I do still quite like this card. This actually got me a really clutch trigger, I think, against the same Mihawk player. I actually triggered this off of life and was able to pop his Tashigi because he had no other cards to rest, because everything was rested. It was a really close game. This ended up coming out clutch. I was considering initially replacing this for 3 copies of the 5 cost Nami, but the only reason I decided not to is because Nami's very situational in terms of only wanting you to have 3, your opponent needing to have 3 or more life. And with Koala's effect, we're already taxing people's life as it is, so while it could potentially be helpful for the going first curve to kind of get them closer to applying a bit more of that pressure, especially against the 5 left leaders, it just doesn't feel like something that I think would be truly beneficial enough, especially because no one's really going to do the on KO effect, and if anybody did, it would be nice. We could play out some of our other guys, like maybe the Koala, the Karasu, a couple of other things that we could play, but I just didn't feel like it'd be as valuable as the Rayleigh and the trigger that we can potentially get from this. So I am sticking with the Rayleigh for now. I do want to test out the Nami at some point, but for right now, I think the Rayleigh is great. This did wonders for me, and I've been liking it quite a lot. Up next, we have the big boss monster of the deck, 4 copies of Dragon. This is another ratio that has not changed. This is still the best card in the deck. On play, bottom deck 3 Revo Army cards, play out any 6 costs or less from the trash. You can play out literally any of the cards that we just shown already. So I don't think I need to explain too much about why this card is just so insanely good. Then we can start talking about some of our 2Ks here. So up next, I've got 4 copies of Baby 5. This ratio has also not changed. It's just a generic good 2K. If you really want to play it out, it's a 5K attacker. It has a trigger. If you're multicolored, draw 2 cards. This is a really good effect. Typically when I get a life early and I trigger that off of it, I'll typically just take the draw. That way I can kind of get a little bit closer to some of my engine. So Baby 5 is really good. I'm sticking with that. I've also got 5 copies of 2 more 2Ks, so I'm playing 9 total. I've got 3 of the Morleys and 2 of the Kumas. As I stated in my other video, the Kumas are good if you are trying to go for extra swings. The Morleys are good as a last minute resort if you are truly just scrounging around for anything to have a +4 cost. With the new addition of the Koalas being also a 4 cost, I might consider maybe trimming this down so that way I go 3 and 2, or maybe even 4 and maybe replacing this with something else. I'm not 100% sure yet. Maybe I might play around with that ratio. I do want to figure out something that works well, but overall, I think this is still a very solid. 2K lineup, and you can change it to however you prefer to play. And then getting into the events, these things also haven't changed from my last list either. I'm playing 4 copies of the Captains Assembled. It's a 1 cost. Look at the top 3, search for any Rebel Army, and then trash the rest. Specifically, it does not include Nico Robin, unlike the Koala Searcher. So you can actually use this, search out the Koala Searcher, grab the Nico Robin if you need to. So this is still a definite 4 of. One more event that we want to talk about here is our Hair Removal Fist. I have not changed this, still at 3. It's basically if you have an 8K on, or if you have an 8 cost on the field, you get +4K for 1 cost with a trigger, draw 1, trash 1 from the top of your deck. It's still a pretty good counter event. It helps out a lot, especially when people start swinging higher at you, like 8Ks. That definitely helps out a lot, but I might consider running this at 4. I just tried to avoid running this at 4 because then it starts to feel bricky, especially towards the end of the game or even the mid game when you don't really have that Dawn to spare for the event. And then last but not least, I've also got the Ground Death. Ground Death is just really, really good. This helps a lot for when you are trying to go for the kill, or if you are just trying to get rid of something that has an annoying on KO, like let's say, I don't know, a fucking Nami or Kikanojo. This helps out a lot for just being able to turn off all of those on KO effects or anything that's really annoying you in the game. It's very good. The nullification is fantastic, and it's a +4K as a counter, so you can't go wrong with that. And that is it for the deck profile. As I mentioned, this is a little bit of a quicker one just because I wanted to go over the main changes that I made for EB03. I'm very, very happy with this list. I think this list is phenomenal. I really wouldn't change much. As I mentioned, maybe there's a few things I might test out, but as of right now, I think this list is incredibly strong. It goes really well blind into the entirety of the meta right now. VV does struggle quite a lot from this. It's been doing well against Nami. It's been doing well against Boa. I do think that this is going to be a very powerful deck if you really want to play something off meta for the Heroines Cup, or even if you are really just looking for something else to play that you want to kind of get a little bit, if you want to play something that has a little bit more of a tempo-oriented vibe to it.
And here's a screenshot of the deck profile for you to take a look at.
That is it for the deck profile. As always, please make sure to like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it, as I am still kind of getting this YouTube channel going. And once again, just to reiterate, Black Yellow Koala is a deck that really rewards sequencing, patience, and pressure. So if you really want to continue to punish all types of people's greed in this format, this is definitely going to be the leader for you. So if you enjoyed the breakdown, like I mentioned, like, comment, and subscribe. And remember that every draw counts. So aim to be the king of top decks. I'll catch you on the next one.